Oracle Cloud Foundations. Hi, my name's Scott Walls, and in this video, you're going to learn how Oracle Cloud is organized. So let's get started. Slide 1. What are Oracle Cloud's service lines? Well, they're largely infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform or development platform as a service. Slide 2. How is the software as a service line suborganized? So as you can see here, and as we talked about how and when Oracle was created, software as a service is broken down or suborganized by what they call pillars. Those pillars correspond to the old components of the app portfolio for Oracle before it became Oracle Cloud. Slide 3. How are pillars suborganized, right? So we go from our service lines to our pillars, and then what you can see out on the sides are the different, what they called offerings. So from a sales perspective, they sell offerings. Those have multiple applications or transactions. So sometimes you'll hear the words SKUs, each application, or bundles, all of the apps bundled under a different offering. And then lastly, most often, all apps are configured at the application offering level, right? Which is why it really makes sense for them to bundle as well as to being able to manage those applications or who has what. Okay, slide 4. How are offerings suborganized? Well, let's take a look. Let's go back and say, here's our ERP pillar under SaaS, and it has different offerings. So PPM, Procurement Cloud, or Financials. And then Financials has different functional work areas. So you can see the image on the lower left. I have a purple bar around the functional areas. And those functional areas that you would expect to see there, and you can see payables here on the hard right, are payables, receivables, fixed assets, general accounting, cash management, expenses. And those are the different groupings of applications or functional areas under the pillar or offering. Okay, slide 5. How are those functional areas suborganized? All right, so I kind of alluded to this just a minute ago. You can see here when we talk about the procurement functional area. And so under ERP, this is a little bit, and to be honest with you, when you look at all of Oracle Cloud, there's a little bit of variation between HCM and then where HCM has a client group and they have lots of applications in it. And the applications are still largely one-to-one for transaction, but in some places I just have a transaction. Then you have supply chain. Let's take inventory. So I have a functional area, supply chain execution, and then I have 3 or 4 major applications in costing and inventory, etc. But within inventory, I have 8 or so different transactions in one actual application versus where here you see in procurement, kind of the transactions, with the exception of something like negotiations, they're largely one-to-one. So look, what's my point? My point is that pillars give way to offerings, give way to functional areas, and then it gets a little bit different. And so ideally, you ultimately get from pillar to transaction, but when you get to that functional area application transaction, it can just be a little bit different. So here's what procurement looks like. And then you have each one of these applications is suborganized so that it has what's called a home page. Now, largely you always have 2, and in this case maybe 3, but you have 2 different types of data in every ERP application. Transactions, and then the stuff you need to make transactions, config values. And so there is a difference in config values home pages, which are a little bit more bland, like suppliers, etc. And they're really probably more geared towards telling you what data is expiring or needs to be completed. And then you see these nice feature-rich dashboards when you're talking about transactions because they have dollars, they have statuses, they have requires attention, right? And then the last one is you have something like the requisition page or supplier portal. And those are what we call self-service pages. And so they're super important and they have to be super intuitive and they look different because it's about getting a wide range. Look at that supplier portal, right? So look, everybody can develop a better page, but one of the things you see right here is requiring attention, recent activity. So my eye's drawn right to what I need it to be drawn to in order for me to know how to process the information that I need to process, hence being able to self-serve that information. Okay, slide 7. How are transactions created and managed? So we just put together a basic transaction page here, amount consumed. This is probably agreements, consumption at risk. So if you look, when you go to the right, you'll see 3 little icons. and I expanded this, but they really mean tasks, search, recent, and there's some variability. The ones in the terms library application are different than the ones in the payables or invoices application. And you see a pretty wide variety here to include recent and reports. Sometimes you'll see scheduling in there, but the point is that those icons allow the person performing the transactions that create and manage to know what to press to engage with the application to create and manage the data. Okay, now, one more time, putting it all together from left to right. First, we'll start with the pillar. All right, those are the main groupings. And under the pillars, we have what are called offerings. Gave a couple examples here. Under those, we have functional areas that largely correspond with departments. And then underneath those, we have applications or transactions, and you can see those here. Now, sometimes negotiations, there's multiple transactions in an application, and particularly in something like HCM, there's really one more, kind of if I thought about it off to the right, and we'll call those quick actions, and that's really fast. So if I'm a user and I'm jumping into a page and I want to go straight into this transaction, so sometimes you'll see quick actions as well, and I would expect to see more of that as we move past 2024 in the future. Okay, so that's the end of this video, explaining to you a little bit of how Oracle Cloud is structured. If you have any questions, great, reach out to me directly using the link below. Want to learn about all the basics related to Oracle Cloud? Check out my Oracle Cloud Foundations course on Panameer.com. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.